So slant boards, I've come to like them. They elevate your heel. I know that.
Yeah.
So Alan Bishop trains a bunch of 8-foot tall basketball players. So he likes to put them on the slant board because of obviously there's as you were talking about the cricket people, like he trains exclusively cricket people. Really long legs.
Yes.
Long torsos too, but legs are ridiculously long. Have you used slant boards in your training? And is it something that you see an application for? Obviously, my goal, if someone has poor ankle and calf mobility where they can't get into a deep squat, then we need to address their mobility issues or it's going to lead to an injury. And we can't just use the slant board as a Band-Aid. But as a training tool, do you ever use slant boards? Is it something that you've ever, and this is just something that came to mind because I've come to like them for certain applications, not all. But what are your thoughts on slant boards and their application within athletic training?
Well, so when Nick Saban was our coach here at LSU, the first thing that he told me to do was to buy slant boards for our players. And that was Nick Saban.
Wow.
So when you train a bunch of gigantic people who didn't start training with weights until they were 12, 14, 16, and sometimes, and still to this day, we have guys that show up at LSU that have never touched a barbell before they got here, believe it or not. So, slant boards were huge. So we actually, we had a bunch made out of metal. They were heavy. So before you could buy them out of the foam, we had them all made out of metal. So I like the slant boards. I think it's great. And then, so my oldest son had a couple of knee injuries in high school and then in college. And so he found the knee over toe guy.
Yeah.
And he and the knee over toe guy got pretty tight, through text. And so my son came over one time and said, "Dad, now I know why you have the slant board." So we have slant boards in our house, in our garage gym. And I tell you something else I like also is the bob. Have you ever heard of the bob?
I do not. Do you know the bob?
I've heard of it. I've never.
Yeah, check out the bob. The bob is it is for ankle mobility and for strengthening the calf and the psoas muscles. And you can do a lot with the bob. It's called the bob. Wow. So I believe I like slant boards. I think slant boards definitely have a place, whether it's for hip mobility, hamstring mobility, or ankle and lower leg mobility. I think it has a definite place. If not, like you said, if not sometimes as a Band-Aid, but as an everyday modality for certain populations of people.
We use the hell out of it to target the VMO. For those of you that's vastus medialis. Also, full transparency, I do kind of, so the slant board guy, one of my companies, Vorlo Fulfillment, we do the third-party logistics for him. So we handle all shipping of the slant board within the U.S.
Yeah, well, good.
So, but I was a big fan of the slant board before that relationship, even before knees over toe guy was a thing. Because it's funny, I don't know if you see this, but I've been doing lateral, linear, backward sled drags since the beginning of time, since I started training people in 2000, right? Like I'm getting old. And all of a sudden, like I posted an Instagram video just doing a reverse sled drag. I didn't even know he did it. And I didn't read his book at that time. Someone was like, "Oh, you're copying knees over toes guy." I'm like, wait a second, he didn't invent this. I'm like, there's a sled drag. He did not invent the sled drag. So, but what I love is that the things that we've been doing in our niche, because of people like, I think his name is Patrick, knees over toes guy, and our guy over at Slantboard, our Slantboard guy. What I love is that I don't care if I get credit for it, if, the knees over toes guy get credit for it. I just want people to perform well and not get injured. So I'm like, cool, I stole it. You got it. That's where I'm at. And that's why, we post all this information, and I had a video team come out and be like, oh, you're going to let them film your session. Like, what if people copy it? I'm like, good. The training in our area, and I mean this in all sincerity, it's really not that good. And in our opinion. So if they copy us, I think that's a good thing, because I want these kids to succeed. I don't know about you, but I get happy if I train a kid or not. If a kid gets a D1 scholarship and goes through their high school career not getting injured, I'm like, dude, yes, that kid's one step closer to reaching their goals and their dreams. So we provide our service, you provide your service. At the end of the day, man, I just want to see kids and people succeed and be pain-free and prosper. And that's, I think, why we all started doing this. Obviously, we all have this passion and love for performance and seeing what the human body can do, and all the new research and data that we never had before. We never had all the research that Flaherty did at Nike and all these cool things that Gary Reinhold did with icing. You look at where technology is coming, like you bring out a bag of ice to some schools and they'll stab you because of the work that Gary did with iced and with what his research and just his passion for recovery.